Hey everyone, I'm Brian Austin Green.
I'm Sharna Burgess.
And I'm Randy Spelling.
And you are listening to Oldish, an iHeartRadio podcast.
Well, hey there, Randy. We're back for another one.
Hey, Sharna.
How's your week been? Tell me about it.
Woo!
Oh, that sounds big.
It's been one of those weeks where starting last week until today, there has been something that has happened every single night to wake me up in the middle of the night. And I don't have young kids. So like the smoke alarm went off one night, false alarm, no idea why it went off. My glass break alarm went off at 2 a.m. last night. So everyone, my wife and kids are up in the bedroom like shaking because they thought someone was breaking in.
Right.
Just a false alarm. And of course, I'm going down and I'm not coming back up fast enough. So my wife is on the phone. She's like, "Sir, can you just talk me through?" He's not coming back up.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to text her. Everything's fine.
Panic.
I'm just checking the house. And so then, our youngest daughter slept with us. And so there's been that just disruption in sleep has been hard. And then I don't know what sort of crazy astrological someone was saying there's like a moon in Scorpio. And I think I have Scorpio somewhere in my chart. But Sharna, let me just tell you, I have been spicy.
Really?
And I'm not normally that way at all, but
I don't imagine you being spicy. I can't picture it, actually.
I'm not, but I don't know. It's like old primal stuff that has come up. And I know when that happens, it comes to the surface for me to look at and release it. Some of it I'm aware of, some of it I don't even know. It's sort of just passing through and coming out and being let go of. But it's interesting. It's like it's activating me in a different way. So it's activating the fire in me where the women in the house have been activated. And so there's been a lot more discussions about things and feelings. I mean, last night was a 45-minute discussion. It was way past bedtime, but I was sitting with both daughters in the room and just talking things out. And, it was good work, I must say, but it made a difference for today. But it's just, when you're tired and you're fiery and there's less patience, it takes even more bandwidth to be able to handle all of that.
Wait, that's so interesting. Okay, so Randy, because I feel spicy on and off, I definitely have my moments. I definitely have a spice to me. So when you face these spicy moments in life and you've got to get into parenting or go have big conversations and step back, maybe say from that spiciness, what do you do? What are the tools that you use? How do you take a breath?
To be honest, it's different every time. I mean, I have my little toolkit of things, but every moment is new. Do you know what I mean? So I have to get present. So maybe I step outside for a moment. Sometimes I will take a few deep breaths. Sometimes I have to put myself in the position of somebody else, because if I just sit inside myself, if my nervous system is activated, and it's like all of what someone else is doing runs through that and just makes it worse. But I have to realize it's not about me in that moment. Something's happening with my children, let's say. And if I put myself in their position to understand from their perspective, everything in my body calms down, because there's a why, there's an understanding, there's a link as to what's going on. And I think if I can understand it, I switch to a different part of my brain, and that really helps.
I love that. That's a really great tool to use. It's been an interesting time. I don't know. Again, I don't know what it is that's in the air. I don't know how many planets are in retrograde or what the heck is happening, but it's just been, even for me, last week I needed complete silence in the house, and it was I needed to work through my stuff. This week I've got things going on too. Certainly Bri being away always makes it feel like a little bit imbalanced anyway for me. But I was having this thought today whilst working through some of the stuff coming up for me, and I wanted to share, and I hope I say it as well as I said it in my head earlier, but it's that in these times of where I feel like things are upside down a little bit, or it's It's not a rut necessarily, but it feels like things are in maybe a moment of stasis, a little bit upside down, unsure. I feel like that's also a time where to consider it a different perspective of the soil is ripe for planting new seeds. For me, this was my thought today, that instead of looking at it from a negative perspective, but to look at it as from a really positive direction of, oh no, this is a great time. This is a great time to plant new seeds for new manifestations and new directions and new dreams and creations. Because I have the open space to do that. And so that thought for me this morning was really, really helpful. Even the visual for me of like literally turning up the ground and planting seeds and watering them. I'm a very visual person. So I wanted to share that today with you and to everyone listening in case anyone else is having a week of feeling maybe spicy or unsure or just upside down in general, with trying to flip that perspective or find a why or step into someone else's shoes. It's really helpful.
The visual is so important. When I work with my clients, most of the time I give a visual because it's so funny. We can hear words, but we have association with words. So sometimes the words can drown out and just sort of fade to the background. But when you see a picture, so for instance, you're tilling the soil, when you can imagine yourself in that analogy and metaphorically tilling the soil, what would it take to till your soil? What would it take with care to get each seed and place it very lovingly there and water it and cover it up with dirt? If you could do that in your life and see it, really see it, it makes a huge difference because the mind goes, oh yes, if I see it, it's real. It must exist. Words don't always feel real, but when you see it, sort of like if you give someone an experience, they believe it. But if you just say something, a lot of times they may not believe it.
So true. I love that. The visuals. We had a fantastic episode this week with Mr. Bobby Bones. You got to meet the man I won the Mirror Ball with. What did you think of him? He's a cool guy, right?
He is a cool guy, that sort of like Southern smooth charm mixed with, effortlessly just weaving in and out of all the things that we were talking about. It surprised me. It was a very inspiring episode. And I feel like I learned a lot just in a short while by how he looks at things. And a lot of the feedback that I got, because I just wasn't familiar with Bobby as much until I started researching him and we knew that we were having him on the show. And I thought it was a great episode. What was it like for you after reconnecting with him in this way? I know you've seen each other, maybe talked here and there.
So briefly though, honestly. And it was really nice because truly in that experience of the show, you do get very, very close. Like we said on the episode, it's like a 3-month marriage, and you go through ups and downs and peaks and valleys and positives and negatives. You overcome adversities together, you fail together. It's huge. And then you finish that season and he's a very busy man. I was very busy. Like we just go off our separate ways. And of course you stay in contact here and there, but so much life has changed since we last really caught up. He's married. I'm engaged. I'm a mother. Like there are so many things in our world that we are no longer the two people that had that journey on Dancing with the Stars. And so it was really beautiful to hear how much he's grown, from that person that I got to know and had this experience with, his journey with therapy and with Caitlin and realizing his things within marriage and his triggers and his program. It was just that language even we didn't have back in 2018 when we did the show. And both he and I have gone through so much spiritual and personal growth since then. So hearing that from him, I just first of all was reminded how much I adore him and how great he is, and reminded why people love him so much and so fiercely, but also so very proud of him to see where he is now and how he's growing and what he's doing and creating. So it was such a beautiful gift to have him on the show. And we actually had a few people come in with some questions for us for this episode, not necessarily for Bobby, but I think maybe about that episode. It brought up some things for some people.
Yeah. Let's get into him.
Let's get into him. So I'll ask you the first one. Ready? Claudia asks, oh no, she's asking me the question. I take it back. Claudia is asking me, Sharna, when did you and Brian talk about having kids? Randy, what about you? How do you even start that conversation with your partner about kids? Is there ever a right time? It's a good question.
Do you want to take it or do you want me?
Well, yeah, I think I've got a great perspective on this one. I think for me, coming from the woman's perspective, right? Because we're the ones with the ticking time bomb. So as they say, and it feels like it's kind of there's a little bit of guilt sometimes or embarrassment bringing that up in relationships. But honestly, when Brian and I started dating, it came up very quickly. And so on the first date, I didn't ask him in a way of like, so are you ever going to have more kids? He was talking about his kids, and I just casually asked, so do you think you'll ever have more, or do you feel done? Because he already had kids, and he at the time had said, "Oh no, I'm done." And then we had, still in it was, and then he sort of backtracked a little bit within that same first date, and he was like, "Well, I don't know, maybe with the right person." So because it was such a maybe in his world, when we were dating maybe a month or so, I'm not entirely sure on the timeline, but I knew that I could really fall for this man, and I knew that kids was a deal breaker for me. So I was turning up to our date at that time with the intention of asking him, "Hey, we need to talk about whether you would or would kids is on the table for you, because otherwise I'm going to have to end this, where we are." And he ended up bringing it up first and saying, "Hey, so, I was thinking, and I just wanted to let you know that I absolutely would, that kids and marriage is still on the cards for me in the future, should it be with the right person."
And what did you feel in that moment? Going from like, oh no, I'm done, to hearing that? What was that moment like for you?
It was, you know what? It was feeling like we were in complete alignment. First of all, the fact that I was turning up to have that conversation with him, right? And he somehow being so in tune and feeling called to have that conversation the same day. It was, yes, there was relief, I guess you would say that, but I think it was mostly just like joy and excitement that these feelings that I'm having, I don't have to just cut short and go a different direction. I don't have to do any self-preservation work here. I can explore this. This is an opportunity for me. So my thing about when would you bring up kids would be, if this is a new relationship, you should bring it up. And there's oddly less pressure then than there is later in the relationship. You're not saying I want to have kids now. You're saying I just need to know that this is on the cards. If you are deep into a relationship and you are at the point where you want kids and you're not sure if your partner does or doesn't, that's maybe a more difficult conversation. But if you are feeling called to be a mother and to have children, you absolutely have to have the conversation. I would say sooner rather than later, in my opinion. Randy?
That's my answer too, is if you're feeling the nudge, if it's something that is weighing on your head and in your heart, that is the right time. I don't know if there ever really is a right time, but if it's coming up in you and you're carrying it and you're not sharing that, I think that is the right time. Whether you get the outcome that you most want, that's a different story. But really, I mean, unless, your partner is going through the worst week of their lives and they're so stressed, you might be able to read the room there and say, you know what, this probably isn't the best week. However, when it feels that we can create a little bit more connection, when there's more space, maybe next week. But shortly after that, I think if you're feeling it and thinking about it, that is the right time.
Yeah. There's that call to motherhood and to wanting children, because you only have so much time to act on it. You cannot deny yourself that because of another person, because I guarantee you will resent that person later down the line. Should you make that decision or choose to not have that conversation or and not address it, you will regret that. I think I just encourage you to honor yourself and the things that you want, especially in this instance. Claudia, I hope that helps.
Claudia, you asked me, what about me in terms of having kids? I think these life nudges, like, oh, I'm really thinking about having kids now. Something has changed in me. or I really want to find the one. I've never felt like I wanted to settle, but now I do, or I want to move to a different city. When you get that bubbling up inside you, it's one of my favorite things that happens, because I feel like there's some sort of intelligence working around us, within us. And when that comes up, it is a form of guidance, like it's guiding you to something. And I remember this when I first met my wife. We were dating, and I remember walking around the neighborhood, and I didn't want a pet. And then we started seeing pets, and at some point, something in me just said, it feels right to get a dog. I want to get a dog. And then we got a dog, and then I was not thinking about kids. And then her oldest brother had his first child, and we went to Michigan to visit them, and I hadn't been around many babies, and there was just something about her. I was playing with her and holding her in my arms, and I came back from that trip, and there was something inside me that said, I think I want to take this relationship further. I'm really thinking about proposing, and it started down the track of having children, even though it sort of came in a inadvertent way. And I think those moments are lovely. So all that to say, if you are feeling that's a gift. Pay attention to that and really honor yourself as much as you can by being honest and telling your partner where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of that.
Okay, Kelly wants to know, where does Bobby rank on the list of partners for you, Sharna?
Gosh. You know what? This is one of those questions, and this is no shade to you, Kelly, because literally everyone asks the question. But asking like, who's your favorite, is asking all of your friends who are listening who your favorite friend is. You know what I mean? It's like just kind of shitty to say, to single people out, I think, when there's been so many wonderful ones. Bobby is up there with the best of them, along with James Hinchcliffe and Nick Carter and Noah Galloway and so many people that I connected with on such deep levels and had an experience that was not only wonderful and creative and enjoyable, but it's had some level of growth for me. These people are all still connected in my life. So Bobby is in that beautiful group of people that I would say are still near and dear to me, that had a huge impact on my life and still do. And I think we'll be forever connected.
Was there one night or one moment on the show? You had a lot of years on the show. Was there one thing that really stands out to you in your memory of that? Didn't have to be the best moment, but just something that was so impactful or moving or special to you in some way.
Oh my God, there's just so many of them.
Which one floats to the surface now as a wow moment?
So one of the so I don't know if I can say that. Damn, I really just dropped in it. We should probably beep that out. That's how hard it is to choose one moment. So there is a moment that will forever stand out for me, and it was my Noah Galloway season, and it was his most memorable year, which was always my favorite to create, because my strength is, yes, choreography, but telling stories, telling people's stories. It was always getting to know a human and putting that into dance. That's my specialty. And Noah is an army vet, and he's a double amputee, and it was a very big and beautiful and vulnerable story to share. We danced to the song American Soldier, and I told the story of him accepting his body. So I did this trick with a mirror and the camera where it doubled his right side, and he had all four of his limbs, so to speak. And then as the mirror pulled and the camera panned around, we saw him then looking in the mirror at the body that he is now. And it was really cool. And I remember it's not one night. It is that week of creation and the creative process of, and it was difficult for Noah too. So it has all of those emotions wrapped into it, to allowing himself to show this pain and to share it with me, to create it. And on top of all of that, he was also physically a little injured, and we had this lift where he would push me over his head. A single press, he would put his hand on the lower end of my stomach and push me up. I would call it the baby bird.
Wow.
So it was an unbelievably hard, rewarding, emotional, stressful, creative. It was literally every emotion just balled up into one. And when we did that performance, not knowing if it was going to, because we almost pulled out the lift, like there was all sorts of things that came into this moment. And he was like, no, I'm doing it, pure determination. I got to the end of that performance and seeing him and feeling the pride in him when he stood there and he had his hand on his chest because he wouldn't salute. It was an honor and an integrity thing for him. He wasn't going to just salute a camera. That's not what you do. You salute your fellow soldiers, that not just on a camera for Dancing with the Stars. And so that was a big thing. And when I saw him standing there with absolute pride and determination on his face that he had completed it and did it perfectly with his hand on his chest, I cried. And I looked at him and I had an overwhelming flow of emotions and I tried to pull it back because it's not about me. And I'm standing there and I was just so proud of him. And I think that entire week is one of the greatest experiences that I had on that show, of growth, of knowing what I was capable of, all of it. And I'm so grateful. I remember every single detail and it will stay with me forever.
That's beautiful. Sharna, if I could cue the footage right now, I would have it queued up. I want to see it right now. After this, after my workday, I'm going to go and listen to watch that, because that just sounds like such a beautiful and amazing moment.
It was incredible. Yeah.
And something that you created, and I'm sure had many levels and layers for him as well.
Very, very many. Every week did, honestly. We had a song in our finale that was called Surrender. And it was a pop song, you know what I mean? We were doing a tango to it, and it was for a 24-hour challenge. We didn't get a choice in the song. We turned up to the studio after the show, and you have like 2 hours to put this dance together. This was for the finale. And he heard the song and it's saying surrender over and over, and it triggered something in him. He's an army dude. He went to war. This idea of surrender definitely brought up a lot of things for him. We had from the little moments to the big moments, we experienced so much, and it was my I think my greatest season. I will forever be grateful for that.
All right. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking. That was fun to share and to sort of dive back into.
I knew there was a moment there just waiting to come up to the surface. Kelly, thank you for asking this question, because look what that question unearthed.
Yeah, there you go.
This is from Shannon. It says, is there anything you or Randy would do differently about your careers? How do you know when your career is right for you?
Interesting. I think you know that it's right for you when it feels good for you. Leaning into what feels good. Do you feel fulfilled? Are you excited about going to it? Are you passionate about it? Do you want to do it? It doesn't mean it's not hard, by the way, because hard is going to come up no matter what we do. There's going to be adversities and challenges. There should be. Otherwise, it becomes boring. I wouldn't change a single thing about my career. I wouldn't change a single thing about my journey and how I got here. And I'm so excited for the journey from here forth, and how I'm going to get to the next things that I'm dreaming of and that I'm manifesting. And I know those things are for me because they're the things that I'm trying to create in my world. I'm very lucky that way, that I was able to make a career out of dance. It is not lost on me how very, very lucky and fortunate I am to have done that.
In terms of my career, what would I do differently? It's so hard, I think, sometimes to look at past and say, what would you do differently? Because I've gotten to this place in my life where I can see how everything that I've gone through has built what I have today, where I am today, my perspective on things. But I get the question. And I think for me, it would be to have patience. That's what I would change about my career, because, back when I was an actor, I was just moving forward, going through the motions, doing what I felt needed to be done. And that was all fine. I really have no regrets about that. But when I pivoted and became a life coach and I started building a practice from the ground up, there were so many times that I was hard on myself, that, before I wrote my first book, it's like, oh, I really need to write a book and I need to get this done. And again, I was really hard on myself through the process. I was impatient. I would compare myself and say, well, look at these other people. They're doing well. Why is it taking me so long to build a business? And this was all necessary for me. I was impatient. And what I realize now is I could have enjoyed the process more of just being where I was at, because I had to learn all the things that I needed to learn. Because when I didn't know something, I would get down about it, but it would also push me in the direction of, well, how am I going to learn this? What do I need to do? Do I need to learn business? Okay. What course am I going to take? What book am I going to read? What mentor am I going to reach out to in order to help me to learn the skills that I need to have? Or if it wasn't outside of me, I had to then go within and say, who do I need to be to create this thing that I want for myself? Is it a mindset that I'm holding? Is it fear that I have? Is it this scarcity mindset that I might have? Like, what do I need to do to continue to upgrade to match what I want to do in the world? And those moments of doing that are priceless. I've learned that now. It's not comfortable. They suck, but they're priceless, because without that, I would search for other things that probably wouldn't build what I really needed. So I had to go inward and find what I needed. And that action of doing that propelled me forward, because I reached down and got it within me somehow. And that really helped. So that is my story in terms of knowing when the career is right for you. I think there's times and seasons. I don't think we have to be married to one career or one thing. I mean, I talk to people all the time who are disenchanted with what they're doing for work. And sometimes there is a career switch that needs to happen. Other times, it's like a relationship. They've become resentful. They have experienced some things at work that have taken the fun, the joy, the excitement out of it for them. When they can change, when they can find how to get some of that back or to show up in a new way and look at it differently, some of the joy and the excitement comes back. So I'd say really ask yourself, are you ready for something new? And by the way, you don't have to switch right away. You could do what they call a side hustle. You could have something on the side. Sometimes it's fun to create something while you're in what you do day to day, to create something different. Take that as far as it can go. And maybe there's a natural progression toward a switch once you build this up. But really ask yourself, what are the things that you're wanting? So number one, what do you want out of a career? Do you feel the way that you most want to feel in your work days? If not, what's missing? And number three is this filling me up? Is this creating some purpose for me? Do I feel purpose through this? And if you don't, please ask, what is the purpose? Even if you shift gears and go to a different career, please ask yourself, what was the purpose of this? Because there's always a purpose that gets us to do what we're doing. Maybe it was just for money. Maybe it was because you had a friend that worked there and offered it to you and you thought, this is the best thing that I have in the moment. But there's some purpose. And I think if you can find that purpose, you can at least say your goodbyes with gratitude, because it's given you something and you can see it. And when you get clear on that, and you go, okay, I got a lot from this. And now, what other purpose am I ready for? How do I want to be fulfilled? Let me look at where I can get more of that.
Yes, Randy, all of that. We have Chris. You said, I loved this entire episode. I can really relate to Bobby and his struggles with commitment. Have you ever struggled with commitment? And do you have any advice on how to deal with that? Commitment.
Yes. I mean, have you struggled with commitment?
You know what's funny? Yeah, but it's like when I read the question, I'm like, I don't struggle with commitment. I love relationships, but it's not necessarily talking about relationships.
Exactly.
It's commitment to things. And absolutely the kind of personality that can start 10 things and finish none of them.
Hmm.
So, to answer your question, I absolutely have issues with commitment and sometimes seeing things through. And it's something that I'm honestly still working with, especially in my times of not necessarily working every day. And then I want to fill my time with things. So I'll start this project and that project and this project. I was going to paint the bathroom this week. Like so many different things that I want to do. And I have to pull myself back and go, okay, what can I actually finish? What can I manage? I have to set intentions for myself to finish this one thing before I move on to the next thing, making sure that I see it all the way through. Even if it means I don't get everything that I was thinking of done, that's okay. I have to prioritize and then promise myself or make a promise to myself that I am going to finish it. And I can't say that it's 100% fail proof. Like I absolutely still sometimes don't finish things or whatever it may be that I'm supposed to do, but it's helpful for me to recognize I'm getting in a pattern of choosing too many things to do
Hmm.
and filling my plate too much, and to bring myself back down to earth and go, okay, this is actually what I can manage this week. But the rest of those things are there for next week if I can get to them.
So it sounds like choosing one main thing that you have the ability or capacity to see through, because there's 10 things, but really picking one and saying, okay, I'm going to go with this. And I really would love to see this through. And actually, I might have the bandwidth to do it.
Yes, because it's like another analogy, like an analogy for it for me, but it's also very real life for me, is like cleaning a house, right? I could start cleaning 5 different rooms, and by the end of the day, still no room is complete. But if I start in the kitchen and then I move to the family room and then I move to the kids' bedrooms, things will get done. There will be accomplishments made, and I might not finish the whole house, but there will be things that are fully completed jobs, and then I can tackle the next things the next day. Whereas the other method of just like a bit here and there with like it's a little bit ADD, you get to the end of the day and you're like, I was so busy and it looks like I've done no
Right.
things. I don't understand where all my time went. There's no reward for it. You know what I mean? I want to do things to see instant gratification. I want the gratification of the work that I've done to see that, to then move on to the next thing.
It's so true. There was a great book. I think it's called One Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the premise is they were working with different companies and saw this idea of multitasking and having 10 things on the list and trying to do all of these things that everyone was focusing on. And what they found was narrowing it down to one thing. What is the most important thing? Prioritizing that thing and getting it done,
Mm.
habituated, practiced over time, led to such an increase in productivity that this became the way that this company and other companies started doing things. And the author of the book really taught this, is how to do one thing at a time, how it helps be more productive. And I think in the day and age of multitasking and having,
Mm-hmm.
50 different balls in the air at the same time, it can be really challenging to do that. But trying to stay focused on one thing actually is more efficient, and at some point even more gratifying, because you get to see, hey, I only did one room, but that room looks damn good.
Yeah,
Right?
right. Exactly.
Like,
It's very
okay, I did
helpful.
one room. If I did one room today, I could do another one tomorrow.
Right. And you are so right on the multitasking thing, right? Because let's just be real. Everyone is always multitasking. As you're a parent, you are multitasking. You might be a single person with no animals. You're still multitasking. You still have multiple areas of your life where your thoughts need to go to and your energy needs to go to and your focus needs to go to. So we're all multitasking all the time. And it can be overwhelming sometimes, man.
It can be. Yeah.
Yeah. Life is big. Life is
Life.
full.
Okay, Kim. Kim
Mm-hmm.
said, I grew up with a single mom and grandparents that raised me. I'm so eternally grateful and thankful for them, but I saw them struggle. Their struggles motivated me to go to college and get a great job. Do you believe everything happens for a reason, and that people who go through struggles have a better sense of appreciation for things?
Huh. What an interesting question. I think people that go through struggles have contrast for sure. But I think everyone on this planet has contrast. We learn through life. I don't think anyone goes through life without struggles. And those struggles are relevant to the person experiencing them, and some people you can't rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 because they're personal to yourself. I think our struggles are what allow us to understand the sweetness of the things that we get. We have the balance of the bitter and the sweet. We have, again, my favorite word is contrast apparently this week, because you have this idea of what you don't like or don't want or don't need. And that makes you all the more motivated to go after the things that you do like, do want, and do need, and then appreciate them when you have them. I think life without struggle, there's no growth. I can't imagine there being any growth. And I don't even know if there is a human on this planet that's gone through life without struggle. Because even if you were to think of someone that is born into all the money and all the things, that doesn't mean that you have no struggle. I think every human on this planet experiences struggle in their own way and in their own right.
Truth. So true. And, I do think struggle helps to shape us, just like a plant. And we were talking about tilling the soil and planting these seeds. So I'm going to go off your analogy, Sharna.
Let's go with it.
If you see the germination of a plant and they have that time lapse where you see it, you have to see all of the stages of, the seed and then the taproot coming out and moving through the soil and digging, or like a lotus flower, for instance, so beautiful. The lotus flower starts at the bottom of a pond in darkness, and then just keeps reaching through the muck and the murk and reaching through to find the light, and then comes out and breaks through. And then you have this beautiful flower sitting on top. And I do think that struggle can absolutely and does shape us. But I don't think that everyone who goes through struggle has a better sense of appreciation. You might, depending on how you are and how you use it, you can use it as contrast to understand the bitter, to have the sweet. But there are plenty of people who go through struggle and stay in struggle, stay in resentment, stay in a form of, we could even call it victimhood.
Yeah.
And they can't break out of that. So not everyone has the ability to do that. But if you do, because it sounds like you think that things happen for a reason and that your struggle has given you a better sense of appreciation. And I think that awareness, self-reflection will serve you well and will make your lotus flower and plant bloom into something really beautiful.
Do you know that this is going to be so embarrassing because I love lotus flowers and I understand the spiritual meaning of them. I had no idea that's how they grow. That makes all the more reason and my deeper understanding of why the lotus flower is so symbolic of enlightenment, because it starts at the bottom of a pond and grows through darkness to come out to the top. That's actually really beautiful. I can't believe I didn't know that, Randy.
You're welcome, Sharna.
Gosh, now I want a lotus tattoo.
Right. It really is amazing when you think about that and you look and you see what's there. You see the surface and it's beautiful and it's this symbol for transformation and beauty. But what it took to get there was a really rough road.
Rough and dark path. The personality that you're talking about that, doesn't see the everything happens for a reason and take the positive side of our struggles for growth. Reminds me of my dad. And I very much watched that with him. And no matter how much I would speak to him about everything happens for a reason and finding the way through things or offer help in different ways over the years, he always just wanted to sit in that struggle. It was what he knew. And even though it was uncomfortable and it was difficult and it created more struggle and more disease, it was what he knew. It was where his comfort zone just stayed. And even when there wasn't struggle in his life, it wouldn't be long before something would manifest, because I think you just continue to attract it to yourself. So Kim, you and your approach to it and your attitude with it is so beautiful and perfect and wonderful, that everything happens for a reason. And to, that's the way that we move forward and away from our struggles and in life, and not staying stuck in them, manifesting more of them. So good for you.
Yes. So Katie, we heard on this podcast how Bobby met his wife and how Sharna and Brian met. I'm curious how Randy met his wife.
My God, yes. Katie, thank you for asking it. I want to know this.
So I met my wife through a friend of my mom's. She had been working with a friend of my mom's, and then I guess the friend of my mom's let my mom know about her, and we met up one day, and I didn't know it at the time that we would even date or be a thing. I wasn't even thinking in that way. I was just sort of coming out of a lot of my struggles and trying to find myself again. It was very interesting because I wholeheartedly believe that if we would have met 6 months before, 3 months before, a year before, there's no way that we would have been together because of, I don't know about her, especially where I was at. So that is really speaks to divine timing and how everything has a right time, because I know that if we would have met even 2-3 months earlier, it wouldn't have worked out.
Isn't timing an amazing divine timing? Brian and I even have that. We found out that there was actually another mutual friend that was going to set us up, but months before, like almost like at the start of that year, I think it was, and then COVID happened and I was away and whatnot, but she never actually moved to setting us up. Dancing with the Stars was supposed to have him on the season before I met him, or that I was the season I was on as I met him. But I don't hook up with my dance partners on Dancing with the Stars. It's just never been a thing for me, so it wouldn't have happened. And it's just divine timing. The universe was trying to bring us into each other's space constantly until it found the right avenue and the right timing and the right way. And for sure, had we have met earlier, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have been the right time for either of us. And it just worked out perfectly. That divine timing is truly real.
I was just putting myself in the space of someone who is thinking, why hasn't it happened for me yet? Why haven't I met the one? Or I'm swiping left or right or whatever it is. I'm swiping and it.
Yeah.
And there is something, I've seen it for 16 years now working with people, and it blows my mind every time. And when you just said it, I was like, I'm so excited to hear this for so many of you out there, because I really do believe that the right person is out there for everyone. I'm not saying the one, but really the right relationship that you need at the time. And to just know that the universe is trying different ways. And what you can do is just keep following your path, just keep staying open, working on yourself as much as you can. I would say sort of even like preparing yourself, letting go of the things that you have to let go of, and know that someone's out there. Because I see so many people suffering in the idea that it might not happen for them. And I think it really is undue suffering, because they're focusing on an outcome that they don't know will happen, likely won't happen, but yet it's like, I know that it's not going to happen. And then they're reacting in the moment to that reality that may not ever happen.
The stories we tell ourselves. I think for anyone that is in a space of still waiting for the one to come along, we could do a whole episode on this, to be honest with you. But the biggest thing that worked for me, because I have been that person, I've been that person of wondering, when is it going to happen? Watching my friends get married, have babies, do the things. When is it going to happen for me? It happened when I no longer needed it, when I wasn't telling myself stories about it, when I wasn't trying to imagine things and project things and without knowing whether they would or wouldn't be true. I was simply content and happy with who I was, growing and working on me, letting go of the things, as Randy said, that I needed to let go of, and really, truly falling in love with my life. Really, truly falling in love with the freedom that I had, the things that I got to do, that whatever it was, falling in love with my life and with me, and making things feel like little rituals, my morning, my walking my dogs, my whatever it was, falling in love with my life. And once that happened and I no longer needed that other person in my life, I met Bri. And there was no rushing into it with him. There was no projecting onto him. There was no needing him. It was just, oh, this is a really cool person. There was no needing him to like me or to love me. There was just getting to know a really cool person. And it took the pressure off anything needing to work. I think that need, when you're in your single era, right, at moment, and you're wondering when that's going to end, you can develop this need for it to end. Really addressing that and falling in love with your life is my greatest advice I can give you. And it's hard in the beginning because you watch people around you and you compare yourself. We've talked about comparison being the thief of joy. You really need to stay in your lane and stay focused on your joy, your happiness, and being okay. And that person will come. It's just allow them to come and the universe to provide at the right time.
I love it. Allow. Be in allowance.
You reminded me of a saying, Sata, a friend of mine that also assists in plant medicine and journeying, has this saying for ceremony and for journeying, but life. Sata, surrender, allow, trust, accept. Just say to yourself, Sata, surrender, allow, trust, and accept.
I'm going to do that right now. Thank you for that, Sharna. Thank you, everyone, for all of your questions. There's some good ones today. Right?
Yeah.
We got to get into some juicy places. So thank you. Please keep them coming. And we will keep the episodes and content coming.
We absolutely will. Hey, Randy, just quickly before you go, I've got a question for you. It's an Aussie word. Ready?
Okay.
What do you think? Hang on. I've got a couple. Ankle biter. Okay. Did we do ankle biter?
What is an ankle biter?
Yeah. What's an ankle
biter is a small, tiny, yappy dog that nips at ankles.
No. An ankle biter is a small child.
What?
An ankle biter.
Why would you call a child an ankle biter?
Because they're little. He's an ankle biter. He's a little one.
Oh, that's so dismissive. He's an ankle biter.
It might be.
To hell with him.
What about aggro? Oh no, you might have that.
Oh, we have aggro.
Hey, we have
aggravated.
Yeah, aggravated.
Yeah. Give me one more.
Oh shoot, no, I think I told you this one, but Savo.
Savo.
Yeah. See you, Savo.
Savo.
Yeah, kinda. No, Sarvo.
Oh, Sarvo. You said
yeah, there you go.
Savo.
Sarvo. Yeah, Savo. No,
okay.
Sarvo. I'll get my American accent on for you.
Sarvo is this an acronym?
No, not specifically an acronym.
I don't even know.
This afternoon. It stands for this afternoon. I'll see you, Savo, is I'll see you this afternoon. This afternoon. And we shorten afternoon to Arvo. Oh, yeah, in the Arvo. But I'll see you this afternoon is you take away the TH and the I, take away the rest of afternoon, and you just go, Savo. Randy has
I don't
no
know
words.
what kind of equation you just said about take away the T and the I and the cut and the... I don't know what that is, but hold on. My brain is processing this. Sarvo, this afternoon.
Yeah, Savo. Afternoon. After? I guess, yeah, because we put an R in there. This afternoon. Savo. Randy?
Okay.
Savo.
I'm going to say this. We can end with this. I wholeheartedly think that there are many things in Australia, in the UK, in Europe, and many other countries that make complete sense to me. Like, I don't know why we're on the metrics that we're on. Some of the things that make complete sense. And then there are some things that completely bewilder me. Sarvo.
It's gonna be 1 to the end of time. I love it. You're like, what? Your face?
See
I wish
you
people
this
could see your
afternoon.
face. Yeah.
Sarvo. When I'm done with
Sarvo, mate.
with
Yeah,
meeting with
Sarvo.
my clients today, I'm gonna go in and say, girls, guess what Sarvo means? See you this afternoon. I guarantee they're gonna go.
Well, it's
What?
this afternoon. So see you, Savo. See you, Savo.
See you.
I'm dead.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Episode-
I'm so going to have more for you guys next week. We're going to do a couple of these each week. I reckon that's a good time for me, at least. Seeing Randy, your face right now is beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Talk to you next time, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, we just want to take a moment to let you know that the Oldish podcast and content posted by Brian Austin Green, Sharna Burgess, and Randy Spelling is solely for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. So think of us as your friends hanging out and having a chat. We do not intend to be a substitute for the advice of a physician, a psychotherapist, or other qualified professional treatments. For any of you experiencing medical or mental health care concerns, please do not disregard or delay in obtaining professional medical advice. We love you, we appreciate you, and we are growing along with you on this journey. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes, you guys are amazing. Make sure you guys go and follow us on Instagram at @oldishpod. And you can also go and leave us a message at our own hotline, which is 855-OLDISH3.
Make sure and write us a review. Leave us 5 stars if you loved it. Leave us 5 stars if you didn't.
We
It
love
helps.
5 stars. We love 5 stars.
Yeah.
Give
We
us
like
all
5
the stars.
stars.
Yeah. See you
All
next
right.
week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next week, everyone.